Hi, I'm Lisa Mirabile, and I'm here today with divorce attorney and mediator Kim Ciesinski. Kim, how are you?
I'm very well, Lisa. It is great to be back here. And I want to congratulate you on the space that you've built here. It's really beautiful.
Thanks.
And you should be really proud.
I am. I mean, it's been a minute, right, since we've done a podcast or two, but this was, and I feel like this is a whole rebirth. It's a new day for sure. And I actually really love the name of your new podcast. So why don't you introduce it to the audience?
Thank you. The name of the new endeavor is called Reconcilable Differences.
You know why I love that name so much? Because you're right. So often we think of divorce and we have, instead of thinking of all of the positivity that comes out of it, and reconcilable differences just makes it a more positive endeavor, right?
Sure.
Instead of all that negativity and the fighting and all that, I mean, you go through it, right? You
Absolutely.
definitely go through it. It's
Look,
never...
no divorce is easy.
Right. No divorce is easy, but
Right.
the fact that you're naming it Reconcilable Differences says a lot, I think, about who you are as a divorce attorney and mediator.
It does, because I see people struggling with reframing their relationship to one another, both financially and as co-parents. And there's, we get used to, we assume our traditional roles or non-traditional roles, whatever they are in a marriage. And restructuring that is difficult.
It is.
But it's possible, and it's possible to reconcile the chasm that has been created by separating. It's possible to do it non-adversarial.
So if you're listening to this podcast and you're thinking about getting a divorce or mediating, or you're in the middle of a divorce, this podcast is not going to be the normal podcast. We're not going to give you that educational or instructional how-to kind of guide. This is going to be real-life stories with real-life people who have been through what you're going through, but have found their way to the other side in a peaceful,
Somewhat peaceful.
reconcilable way. So there is light at the end of the tunnel if you're listening and you are going through it. And I love that I get to be a part of it. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm really excited about the new approach that I'm taking, and thanks for mentioning it.
Of course.
Like you said, it's been a minute. It's been a few years. And, I've spent part of that time thinking about what I want this new podcast to look like, and what's the message that I want to send to people that I think will be helpful, and make them feel like they're not alone and they're not the only people going through this.
Yeah. And when you first started, I think your last podcast, that was maybe 6 years ago?
I think
and
so.
then we did it for quite a while, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's been about 2 years now since we've done a podcast. And
Yes.
society, 6 years ago, is not necessarily what society is today. I know that I don't live the same way. My daily life has changed, right, due to technology, due to information, the speed of things, how we live our life, and even the way I work is not the same, right? So my lifestyle is not the same as it was 6 years ago. COVID changed a lot for everyone, right?
It really did.
I stay at home more often, so I work from home half of my week, right? So I get to be at home a lot, which I think would have an effect in how you manage, especially if you have children, custody with someone who you may be separating from. So I'm excited about this podcast because to talk about today's culture and how you go through it today, as opposed to how we maybe thought about it a couple of years ago, is way different.
I think that, I know that I have witnessed very distinct changes in cultural norms over the past 6-8 years. Attitudes, that traditional trajectory of meeting your spouse in high school and going to college or not going to college, but being married in your mid-20s and having children by your mid-30s, assuming traditional roles in that marriage, that's just not happening as often as it used to.
Absolutely not. And who's to say what is traditional right now?
Exactly, yeah.
Right?
There is no traditional right now.
Exactly.
And I'm seeing different ways that people are handling their relationships.
Yeah.
One of the things I'm noticing is that couples getting remarried or married for the first time later in life are choosing to maintain their separate residences.
Oh, you're speaking my language.
That's right.
I can say that that's
Yeah.
absolutely true. That is something that my husband and I have done.
Yeah.
We're married now a year and a half,
Mm-hmm.
and we do maintain two separate homes. I mean, he's been married, I've been married before. We have children that
Mm-hmm.
are, we have responsibilities, and both of us see very clearly our responsibilities are to our children first right now,
Yeah.
at this stage of their life that they're in.
Mhm.
And eventually, we do consider that we will be together,
that's what I'm
possibly,
finding,
but
yeah.
also I like my space.
Well,
I
I was-
mean,
I was just
I
gonna
really
say
like
that,
my space.
yeah.
I'm a little meticulous about how I keep my
understand-
house.
I understand that, and I'm finding that, at our ages, older, younger, we are so set in our ways.
It's so
and
true.
I know for myself, I'm so used to having my own space that I would find it difficult to live with somebody at this point. As you know, I'm divorced for 15 years.
Yeah.
And I would find it very difficult to share my space with somebody. That doesn't mean that I don't want to share my life.
That's
I
right.
just-
That's the point I was
sharing the
just.
space, yeah. So, I'm even seeing it not just in older couples getting married later in life. I'm also seeing it in people. Well, first of all, I'm not seeing too many 20s getting married anymore.
Absolutely not.
People
I
are
think-
definitely getting married at a much later age.
I think in the Northeast for sure. I'm not. I can't speak
I
for
can't speak
everywhere,
for the rest
right?
of the country,
But where
yeah.
we live, absolutely in New York.
Yeah.
I think my son and his friends actually have a rule, like there's no way anyone's getting married in their 20s. They say,
Yeah.
30 is the time, to consider that.
Yeah.
They've seen their parents, right, go
Yeah.
through it. Not necessarily a divorce or the ups and downs, but have open conversations around becoming an adult,
Yeah.
finding yourself, finding your own footing before you're ready to share.
Establishing your career.
Yes, and now today's so expensive, right?
Yes,
To have
yeah.
a home and to have the things I think that people want for their family. So there's many different factors, I
Yeah.
think, in that. So they are getting married later. So you were
Yeah.
saying that they...
There's also different challenges in how people are meeting. It's far more difficult to meet people now, and I think that
That's
not
true.
only has COVID impacted that, but I think that social media, always being on our phones, attached to our hands, looking down, not looking up, has impeded people's ability to meet organically.
Yes, and I think we're all kind of fearful of engaging in conversation. COVID did keep us 6 feet apart from one another. Although we're not 6 feet apart, I think we're still very protective of our own space.
Your personal space, yeah.
Our personal space. So even if you're at the gym,
Yeah.
like I do not talk to anyone. I don't look anyone in the eye, even when I was single, right? Like I said, I was married a year ago.
Yeah.
But so where are they meeting? How are they dating?
By introduction,
Yeah.
online dating apps.
Sure,
I mean,
right.
I have 3 young adults and as you know, 3 daughters, and that's how they tell me it is occurring. It's very difficult to be out at a restaurant or a bar and just organically meet somebody of the opposite sex. Like men are not approaching women as often, and women are not approaching men as often.
Social norms have changed for sure.
They really
We're not
have.
as open as we were, right? We're a little fearful. We're a little
Right.
standoffish. We relate better in text than we do in person
Unfortunately,
sometimes.
I think that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But it is a reality.
It's the truth, though. Yeah.
And because that's one of the factors of why people are waiting to get married later, because it's difficult to meet someone. It takes longer. But there's also the factor of I'm seeing a lot that young people are not seeing the point of getting married. So, although I do a lot of prenups, and I'll talk about that in a second, I'll see a lot of people in their late 20s, mid-30s, that age range, coming to me and saying, we don't want to get married, but we would like to define our roles, how we're going to function, what our responsibilities are going to be in this partnership. We want to be life partners, but not necessarily married. So something new that I'm seeing is that I'm drafting domestic partnership agreements.
I love that. I actually really love that. I think that that's a fabulous idea.
look, if
For a younger
if people
person,
are trending,
right?
yeah,
For a
younger people are
person.
trending that they don't want to get married. It's really important to have what your responsibilities are and what will happen if the relationship doesn't work out.
Right.
And unlike prenups, years ago, young people didn't want to do prenups, or even our contemporaries didn't want to do prenups because it's
Sure. Had a
unromantic. It's unromantic.
Well,
and you're dooming the marriage. You're
that's
saying
right.
you're going to divorce me
That's
someday,
right. That's what the stigma was.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
younger people are now doing prenups. It's pretty common at this point, even in
Wow.
first marriages. But because they're meeting later in life, they're getting married later in life, so they've established their careers somewhat.
Sure.
They may have accumulated assets,
Mm-hmm.
and they want to protect them. They're not coming in ground zero. You got nothing, I got nothing.
Very smart.
They're coming in with established careers and assets, and they want to protect that. They also want to define what their roles are going to be.
Really?
Yes, which I find really, really interesting.
That is interesting.
Like, how are we going to pay the bills? Is it going to be your responsibility? Are we going to sit down
I don't think I was
together?
that smart when I got married. I really did not think that through.
I
think at 26, I had no clarity at all.
No,
I was
no.
like, oh,
I think
I
there's
don't
an
know.
awareness.
We'll figure it out.
I think there is an acute awareness among young women now that, hey, I saw my parents' marriage, and my mom went out to work, my dad worked, but my mom did everything around the house. I don't want that in my marriage.
Right.
So let's talk about who's going to pay the bills. How are we going to do it? And they really are focusing on everything being a joint endeavor. Like, we're going to sit down once a week, once a month, whatever it is, and we're going to go through all the bills, and we're going to decide together what gets paid, how much.
Okay.
Things like that. Childcare responsibilities. When we have a child, I work, you work. Who's going to pick the child up when they're sick in daycare? Is
Love
it always
that.
going to be my responsibility?
I love that it's not always going to be my
Yeah.
responsibility. I think that's a wonderful idea.
So they're
that's
really
outlined.
looking. Yeah, they're really looking to
Really great.
memorialize in writing their image of what they want their life partnership to be like, and I think it's great.
I think it is great.
Yeah.
And, we were talking about older people having their own space and younger people now coming together and working this out, and then sometimes even having their own spaces in their life. I find that is so interesting that the younger people are doing it.
Yeah.
Because for me, it kind of makes
Yeah.
sense, right? Like, have the house, the
Yeah.
kids are older. He has children that are still in
Yeah.
high school, so
Right.
it makes sense that
Yeah.
he has to stay in the school district, make
Yeah.
sure the kids are good.
Yeah.
And I'm an old grumpy lady. I like my own space. I like what I like, right? But a younger person, I
Yeah.
find it so very interesting.
Typically, this is happening either before first marriage in the form of a prenup, or if they're not getting married, but they're establishing a life partnership in their 30s, they want to define, what are my expectations? How many times? Because I'm a divorce attorney, I
Right.
cannot tell you how many times I have heard somebody come in and sit with me and say, I don't understand how I got here. We never said that everything was going to fall to me. I didn't know I was always going to be the one who made the doctor's appointments, scheduled the play dates,
Oh, well,
pay or vice versa, or paid all the bills. Like, it just kind of evolved, and I think I find myself. I'm talking about what people say to me.
right.
I find myself in this position that it just kind of evolved into how my parents do it, and that reality doesn't necessarily fit very easily in today's times, because they're
We live different.
older, right? We live different. They're older, meeting later in life, getting married later in life, and have established lives. And, they know what they want for themselves and what they don't want. Who would have, I got married
Yeah.
at 26 years old. I would have never had the forethought to say, let's sit down and talk about what the responsibilities are.
Exactly. That's
never
what-
happened.
Never.
Life
That
unfolded.
Exactly.
Yep.
I think we were also confused. I think as women, because the roles were changing at that time. We were in the 80s, right? Like
Yeah,
80s,
yeah.
and then we were in our 20s and the 90s.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And so women's roles were definitely changing. We were
Yeah.
that in between where we were expected to work, but still expected to do everything at home.
Yes.
And
to
that's
be
what the
honest,
children saw.
Yes.
And they were like, hell no. that's not going to be me.
Yeah.
Look at how tired and
Right.
unhappy she is.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And we were.
Yeah. We were.
We were. That's why we had such a
assumed-
high divorce rate, I
Yeah.
believe.
I don't remember at the time that I got married ever having conscious thoughts of, well, I'm going to do this, but I'm going to ask him to do this. I'm going to do that. I kind of just assumed that it was all going to fall to me.
Yeah.
I had a stay-at-home mother, and so I didn't experience a working mom and seeing the role changed. So I kind of felt like I knew I wanted that career, and I was of the mindset of, hell yeah, I can do both of these to 100%.
Yeah.
And boy, you can't.
You can't.
You
No.
can't. Yeah.
And that's why,
Yes.
it does take a village, right? That's
Yes.
where that saying came from. But today,
Mm-hmm.
the young adults see that
Yes.
and are making changes. So
Yeah.
technology is playing a role in how I think fast-paced our lives are, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And so technology is playing even a role in how we go to work.
Mm-hmm.
And technology
If we go to work.
If we go to
we're
work.
Working from home. That's another reason why people are having difficulty meeting.
That's
A lot of people are working from home entirely or hybrid, hybrid
Yes,
part and
hybrid.
home part. And that's really difficult. You're losing that social aspect
absolutely.
of going to an office, the camaraderie, the, joking around the
Support
water
systems.
cooler, support systems. That just doesn't exist anymore.
No, it
And
doesn't.
That's definitely had an impact on people's ability to connect.
So let's talk a little bit about how the reconcilable differences sort of plays a role in that, in the way our life is today, as a fact of working out the parenting agreements, working out the divorce agreement. How is it different over the last 2 years, sort of as when you saw it 6 years ago? And
I would say it goes back a little further than 2 years.
Okay.
I've seen a trend among the young people getting married late, in their 30s, that if it does end, and ends when they have small children, because they came into this marriage with a different attitude as to what our partnership is going to look like, how responsibilities are going to be shared, whether they have a written agreement or not. They just came in with different expectations of what each of their roles are. I'm finding it's a little easier to come up with that co-parenting plan,
okay,
a little easier to come up with what's a fair distribution of the assets.
Right.
There tends to be more mutual respect. They see each other as equals.
that's great.
Yeah, but it's different, when someone our age, our contemporaries and older, are looking to a divorce. That hasn't been the way their partnership has been
Right.
shaped. Maybe somebody worked full time and the other person stayed home and took care of the children. So there were different responsibilities and partnership ideologies
Yes.
that can be a little more difficult to reconcile, but that doesn't mean it's not possible. I find
I think that's key.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think that's key. Just because it's difficult doesn't mean it's not possible. Yeah.
I think I find that once people enter the legal system, you're in court, there's just a whole nother layer of animosity that
Just
naturally
even walking in
comes
that
out.
building,
It's horrible.
you feel disgusting. You
Yeah.
feel you're very nervous, so you're
Very
on edge.
nervous, yeah.
You are on edge the minute you walk in that building. It's
Yeah.
just not set up. It's not like it's pink and butterflies and everyone's
No,
walking around. It's like everyone, even the way they walk, heads down,
Yes.
fast,
Yeah.
no eye contact,
Yeah.
and it's just
Yeah.
an angry place to be.
It certainly is. It certainly is. But I think, years ago, even 6 years ago when
my
I first
gosh.
had the podcast, mediation wasn't a household word.
Oh, definitely not.
It was, people knew about it, but it wasn't. Now I think it's more common that someone thinks, okay, we're going to end this marriage. Mediation does come to mind.
Yeah,
May
absolutely.
not understand the workings of the process, but they know it's out there. And, that's a big difference. Everybody used to
Absolutely.
think, we're getting divorced, let's go get ourselves a judge and lawyers, lawyer up.
Lawyer up. Exactly.
Yeah.
That was the phrase. Let's
Yeah.
lawyer up. Oh, I need a real bulldog.
Exactly.
We're going to take him for all he's worth, and I say him because obviously I'm a female, but we're going to take,
Yeah.
The opposing
That's
side
the
for all
last
they're
thing
worth.
you want.
Absolutely not. Because
Yeah.
what that does to the kids, seeing that and
Yeah.
seeing, how could I love my mom or my dad when my mom or my dad don't love each other.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. And there's also, if
such
one
psychological warfare going on in that house. Yeah.
And poor kids, children naturally see themselves as I'm part mom, I'm part dad.
Absolutely.
So if mom is bad-mouthing dad constantly,
then part of me is not bad.
That child
right?
is internalizing that feeling of, wow, I guess then part of me, I don't think it's a conscious thought, but I guess part of me is bad too.
I don't think it's a conscious thought either, but I do.
Depending on the age,
Yeah.
Depends on the age.
Yeah. And I don't think at our time we were cognizant of that, right?
No,
we just, we were dumb. we were really dumb. We weren't that aware.
We knew at the time.
Yeah, I guess.
Now
the information's out.
The information is different. New thoughts and ideas exist now that didn't exist when you and I got married.
Thank God.
Yeah. It's I see it. I know a lot of people see it as a disappointment that the institution of marriage is dying. First of all, I don't think that's true.
No, I don't believe that's true either.
But I think
it's reshaping.
It's reshaping.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think the way in which it's reshaping is a positive development.
So do I.
Yeah.
And I think the way they're ending it is also a positive.
Yes.
Right? In the mediation expectation, I think, is much kinder to one another. Mm-hmm. It's more of you were my family, you're going to stay part of my family. Mm-hmm. I don't have to love you.
Right.
But we have to
we're parents together forever.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think that's healthy.
It is. It's very healthy. And there's more respect. They see each other more often as equals.
I love that.
If they both had a career, they see each other as equals.
Yes.
And nobody feels like, this was all on me, and I don't want to give you anything.
So I was just going to ask, so financially, how have you seen that? We talked a little bit about the children, but how have you seen the shift and how it's affecting people financially?
Okay. So, as I said, if in a situation where both parties have had their career, they've accumulated possibly pensions, deferred compensation accounts.
And mediation
is?
I'm sorry.
Oh, I'll tell you what mediation is.
Okay.
They tend to look at those assets more often as theirs, and there's a respect back and forth for that. You worked for that, that's yours. That's not the law. Everything that's acquired during a marriage is subject to equitable distribution. Presumptively, most assets is 50%.
Even if you earned it.
Even if you earned it. But the mindset is now, with people who come to divorce and marriage on more equal footing, that I'm seeing a trend of, what's yours is yours, what you worked for is yours.
Well, that's great, because all we hear about is this generation is entitled. They're so entitled, and a feeling of entitlement. So I'm so happy to hear that they're kinder to each other and more respectful of everyone's contribution. And awards, right?
Yeah.
And I guess that does come with recognizing that you're still a family unit, even though your family unit is reshaping, right?
Yeah. I don't necessarily agree with you that, everybody in this next generation is entitled.
No, I know. I'm just saying that's something that people say often, right?
Yeah. But I just think that their lives are being shaped by different rules. And that may give the appearance of entitlement. I think they just expect more. They expect more for themselves.
I do believe that.
And
Absolutely.
they expect more of their partners.
I do think that they hold themselves to a different level.
Yes.
Because they expect. They have a higher standard. I think of what life should look like. Right. So that flexibility does play a role in that. And along with their divorce, right?
Yeah. So I'll give you a little summary of what mediation is. Mediation is when you meet with one person. That person can be an attorney, or that person doesn't have to be an attorney. Ideally, in my opinion, a divorce mediator, it's more useful than not to be a matrimonial attorney. So they meet with that one person, and as a mediator, my job is to, first of all, learn their pattern of how they connect with each other, how they communicate. Every couple has their pattern.
Sure.
Patterns of communication.
Yes.
And I've been doing it long enough that I can really get a handle on that rather quickly. So once I have a handle on how they communicate, I can help them communicate better. And how I do it specifically, I think of myself as like a translator. Like,
Interesting.
how often
That's
do
true.
you like see friends or family arguing, and you're thinking to yourself, but that's not what he means. He means this, and then say it to the other person. That's
Yes.
not what he or she meant. What they were trying to say is this.
Right.
And when you do that, you can see like the shoulders go down, and it's,
I love
I
that.
didn't realize that's what you were trying to tell me.
That's true. I see that all the time when my family gets together, as in the holiday.
Yeah.
And it gets a little contentious
Yeah.
sometimes. And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden you're like, wait.
Yeah.
That's not what she meant.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, that
And
oh
most
moment.
arguments are fear-based. I mean, when you're going through a divorce, you're scared out of your mind.
Absolutely.
It's
It
just
is a
fear.
horrible
so
time.
it's human nature when you're afraid to be defensive, to be,
On guard.
on guard. Yeah. But when you can improve the communication between two people going through this process, the fear kind of dissipates a little bit. And once the fear has dissipated, it's really a lot easier to tackle the difficult issues.
So is it true then that mediation is faster than going through the court
without
system?
a doubt.
Oh.
Mediation is a wonderful, wonderful process. I believe it is the best way to go through the process. It's not always possible, okay? Not every case
I understand
is,
that.
yeah.
I can understand that, and
Yes.
I see why.
Yeah.
If you
But-
can't communicate, right?
Yeah, but I mean, studies show that an agreement reached between parties who have come to that agreement themselves,
Yes.
they made the choices. They are far more likely to abide by the terms of that agreement than couples who have the agreement, the terms of the agreement imposed upon them by a judge.
Got it.
Nobody likes to be told what to do.
No one.
But when you make your choices and you decide what you're going to do, you're more likely to abide by it, right?
Yes, absolutely. I know I hate being told what to do, and the
Everybody
minute someone
does.
tells me to do something, I'm
Yeah.
like,
No. I will now be doing the opposite
Maybe.
of that.
maybe.
Yeah, that's.
And then I will go ahead and say the same thing and then do it.
Yeah, I know. It's
Right?
just
You get
human nature,
childish.
yeah.
But
So once they come to a meeting of the minds, I draft an agreement.
okay.
And then it gets circulated and we tweak it. And then at that point, when both parties say, yeah, this is what we've agreed to, we're good, they're going to take that agreement to reviewing attorneys.
Oh, so then you get another attorney involved, or
Yes,
two other attorneys
yes,
involved?
two other attorneys
Two
involved.
other-
It's not
okay.
mandatory, but it's a very good idea, and I always encourage it.
Okay.
That's your lawyer, because I don't represent either party in mediation. I'm a
Right,
neutral.
a neutral
I can
party.
educate them on what the law is. I can give them, if they ask, suggestions about what have other people done in these circumstances. I can help them, think out of the box, get that
Okay.
process jump-started. But I cannot turn to the wife and say, why aren't you asking for more? You know you're entitled to blah, blah, blah. I can't do that.
No.
So once the agreement is reached with an understanding of what the law is and what your rights are, because I provide that, you go to your reviewing attorney, and that attorney makes sure, like when I also act as a reviewing attorney, not just a mediator. So when I'm a
Okay.
reviewing attorney, the client comes to the door, and I will have already read their agreement. And my job is to, first question asked, I'd like you to tell me in your own words, what does this document say? What's your deal? What deal did you make? In your own words. Because a lot of times,
They don't understand
the
it?
in the legalese, it gets distorted. So once I realize that person gets it, and this agreement represents what they think they agree to, the next step is to see if it is fair. The word is that it's not unconscionable, that it is so,
Lopsided?
unevenly, yes, lopsided, that no person in their right mind would agree to this. Make sure that is not the case. And make sure that it's sound, it's written well, everything that needs to be in it is in it.
Okay.
And then I just say, okay.
Now, financially,
Mm-hmm.
you said, well, I should back up and say, you mentioned that it was faster. So I'm
Yeah.
assuming financially it's more economical.
Oh, it is. It absolutely is, yeah.
Okay.
Because first of all, you're paying one mediator.
Because someone thinking, oh, I need a mediator
Right.
and two attorneys, it
No,
could be more expensive.
It's not to the level of
Okay,
that.
okay.
So mediation, first of all, you're paying one retainer to a mediator, not two retainers
Okay.
to
Two
different
different
attorneys.
attorneys.
Right. So
Okay.
right there's a savings. And a retainer in a mediated case is just going to be less than a case in mediated, because when you're mediating, as an attorney what you don't have to do now that this is being mediated.
Right.
And my retainer is based on the complexity of the issues. That's where, I hear,
Got
why
it.
isn't it the same charge for every divorce? Because some have some very complicated, complex financial issues that really have to be delved into. Sometimes there's assets that have to be appraised. Sometimes they have a business together. That's really sticky stuff.
Sure.
So, retainer gets set accordingly. Then when you go to your reviewing attorneys, that retainer tends to be nominal.
Thank you for listening to this first episode. Stay tuned for our next one. You don't want to miss it.